Okay. The story of the cute little chocolate curls girl and her Red Riding Hoodie. Once upon a time, there was a cute little chocolate curls girl who was loved by everyone, and especially by her grandmother, who really, really cherished her granddaughter. Grandmother cherished chocolate curls, Cece to her friends so much. She gave her a little Red Riding Hoodie, just like the one that she got when she herself was a young woman in college. Cece loved her Red Riding Hoodie so much that she would wear it even when it wasn't cold outside. She was very proud of it because her mommy and grandmommy had ones just like it, except theirs had very impressive Greek letters on the front. One day, her mommy said, Cece, I have just finished slow cooking this delicious beef stew, and I would like you to take a pot full of it to your grandmother, since your grandfather won't be back from his hunting trip until tomorrow night. Besides, I'm more than certain that this meal will taste particularly good to her, especially coming from you. Cece gave her mommy a big grin. I want you to take it to her while it's still nice and warm. Leave right away so that you can arrive before it starts getting dark. Then plan to spend the night with her. She will really like having the company. Cece could hardly contain her joy. She loved spending time with her grandparents, and having them living within walking distance was extra special. Hurriedly pulling on her Red Riding Hoodie and cream-colored overnight backpack, Cece said, I'll get this to her faster than one of those big delivery trucks that speeds things to us. In fact, I'll take a shortcut through the park. Mommy suddenly allowed a worried look to come across her face. Take care. The boy in that wolf family has a reputation for being really rude to girls. Cece laughed. Some boys act like wicked little creatures, but I can usually find something nice about them when I think really hard and remember the advice you and Daddy are always giving me. And with confidence that always reassured her mother that Cece was quite capable of taking care of almost any problem that a girl her age might have to handle, she skipped out of the front door and down the path toward her grandmother's house. Why should Cece worry about some silly, mean little boy? After all, her grandparents only lived on the other side of the park. Unfortunately, the Wolf family and their mean son had just moved into the house very near the park. Mr. Wolf never seemed to smile, but Mrs. Wolf more than made up for her husband's grumpiness with a kindness that made everyone want to give her a great big hug. But that mean little boy, Cece took a deep breath and made a loud sigh as the wolf's house came into view. Suddenly, jumping out from behind a tree, the little wild creature stood glaring at Cece. Why aren't you screaming and running away like everyone else? He snarled. Cece rolled her eyes and blurted, Boy, you better leave me alone before someone gets hurt here. As his frown grew larger, he blurted back, Silly girl, you better watch what you say to me. And why are you wearing that stupid red hoodie as warm as it is out here? Showing him that she was not intimidated, Cece slowly walked close enough to whisper, What is your stupid name? Startled and stumbling back, he barked, Woof! They call me Woof! Regaining his composure, he asked, What smells so good? Realizing they both knew that she wasn't afraid of him, she smiled and said, Taking my grandmother some of my mommy's stew. And after looking suspiciously in all directions, he looked at the ground and asked, Are you really going through the park? Cece knew the look of fear, but she also knew that it would only hurt his feelings if she let him know. She had seen grown-ups become angry when others pointed out their fears, so She used one of the lessons that Mommy and Daddy had taught her. I really don't like going through the park by myself. Would you walk with me half the way? Almost like magic, Cece saw Wolf's eyes widening instead of his usual mean look. His mother's smile spread all across his face, from his big left ear to his big right ear. I'll walk halfway with you. Nothing is going to bother you with me around. Cece smiled and said, we better hurry before the stew gets any cooler. As they walked in silence, Cece could hardly contain her curiosity. Softly she said, you have the biggest eyes. Continuing to stare straight ahead, Wolf said, my mom says that they are the windows to my soul, but I don't want anyone seeing my soul. After what seemed like an agonizingly long amount of time and silence, Cece quietly asked, why don't you want anyone to see your soul? Noticing that Wolf's smile had visibly faded, Cece changed the subject. You have some very interesting ears. As the smile slowly returned to his face, Wolf said, my mom says they are part of my superpower that improve as I grow older. She sees everything as blessings, but I heard her pleading with my dad. He works so much that he hurts. He's always tired, and when he's tired, he's hurting. Cece stopped, looked directly into Wolf's big eyes, and said, sometimes I get really angry with my mommy and daddy when they do that. But I guess I'm just plain lucky. As a look of curiosity grew on his face, Wolf asked, why are you lucky? Cece smiled as they began to walk even more briskly and said, there are always those times when they aren't tired and we get to talk about things. They almost never talk about things that they discuss when they think that I'm not listening. But it always ends with a really, really long hug. And that always makes me feel better. They even seem to feel better as they both noticed that they had come close to this other side of the park. Cece says, thank you for coming with me. Wolf smiled and shouted, I'm still going to be mean to you. Cece stepped really close and punched Wolf really, really hard in the arm. With a look of surprise, Wolf yelled, why did you punch me? Walking briskly away while forcing herself not to smile, Cece blurted, because everyone knows that you're a wicked little creature. Give your mommy a big hug for me, and even your daddy. Turning to return home, Wolf gradually realized that the park really wasn't as scary as he had thought, and maybe he would give his mommy and maybe even his daddy a hug. And he quietly whispered to himself, a red hoodie, stupid girl. As Cece got closer to her grandparents' home, she could see her grandmother standing in the doorway waiting, with her little feet carrying her even faster. She could see her grandmother's worried look slowly turn into a great big glowing smile. Rushing quickly to her grandmother, placing the pot of stew on the counter, Cece excitedly ran back to her to give her grandmother one of the biggest hugs in the world, probably even the whole universe. And with that, She began to tell her grandmother about a mean little boy with really, really, really big eyes and really, 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 really big ears. After sitting down in her favorite chair and having Cece settle into her lap, grandmother slowly and softly whispered, I bet you suddenly had this really, really, really strong urge to punch him, didn't you? Cece hugged her grandmother even tighter and giggled as she playfully pulled her red hoodie over her head to cover the biggest grin in the world, probably in the whole universe. The end.